Golden Doves Class 216, page 129, by associating temuna with speculum. So you have the word temuna. Now, people always say, okay, temuna is an image. So what does temuna have to do with? Temuna has to do with, the geometrical properties of a particular object. Let's say that's a temuna. That's what one would normally think. But the Hachamim associated the word Timunah with speculum. Speculum is actually a mirror. Why would they do that? So the rabbis taught, first of all, that in this context, Timunah does not refer to shape or contour. So it doesn't have to do with shape or contour when it says Utmunat Adonai Yabit, right? And also in the case of the Timunah being one speculating in his mind, you like that word speculation, about a particular image. So there it's also like a mirror. So interesting, what is that about? Right? So it doesn't refer to shape or contour, but rather to the spectrum image of parents reflected in the speculum. So temunah refers to that image which is reflected in a mirror. Okay, more significantly, this association suggests that the mirror-like quality is present in all things. So anything has a mirror-like quality. I mean, you have a physical object, and that physical object can be reflected in the mirror. Every temunah is a reflection of an inner form, or every inner form projects an outer temunah. But here's the point, that I didn't say this yet, I'm going to say it now. The significance of this is that if you're looking at something, you see an image. That physical image that you see, let's call it temunah, you're looking at it and you see the image, right? That's also temunah. That image is a reflection of an internal structure. You see, the Chachamim rejected metaphysics. In metaphysics, the physical thing is the real thing. And Chachamim have a dramatically different way of looking at matters. So for the Chachamim, everything has a selem, an inner structure. And the Temunah is just a reflection of the inner structure, but the Ikar is the inner structure, not the outer reflection. The same way if I'm looking at a mirror and I see a reflection of an orange, the reflection of the orange is not the real orange, right? It's a reflection. The real orange, there is a real orange there. So similarly, when you look at, let's say, a cat, so the physical temunah of the cat is a reflection of the genetic code of the cat. So that's the mirror also. This concept also pertains to God. How can that be? Well, God is not physical, of course. I don't even like saying God is spiritual. I don't like that because that implies there's physical, the spiritual, right? I don't even like saying God is spiritual. I don't even know what that means, right? He's not a wind, right? So what does that mean? So alluding to the verse, you will see my back. The pasuk says, "Vela'ita et achorai ufanai lo yera'u." You will see my back, but my face will not be seen. Ha'ayeh Gaon commented that what Moses beheld from the brilliant speklaria was the back, ahor, of the divine presence. So when the Hachamim say that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to see be'aspeklaria me'ira, he was able to see God be'aspeklaria me'ira, what he saw was a reflection in a well-polished mirror, but not of the face of God, of the ahor of God, of the back of God. You can never see the face or understand or apprehend or any sort of comprehension whatsoever of God as he is to himself. You can't see the face. And there's more to say about the difference between ahor and panim, but just not right now, right? However, the face, panim of the divine presence, he beheld in the same manner as all other prophets. That's very interesting. So according to Rav Ha'ayeh Gaon, in terms of panim of God, that was be'aspeklaria she'ena me'ira. So Moshe Rabbeinu also saw the panim of God, be'aspeklaria she'ena me'ira. According to Rabbeinu Sa'adeh Gaon, this that Moshe Rabbeinu saw be'aspeklaria me'ira was the ahor of God. Bera'ita et ahorai ufanai lo yera'u. That's a very interesting distinction. And all other prophets beheld the divine presence from a speklaria, which is not brilliant. In other words, The Temunah reflected in the Speklaria is the back, never the face of the divine presence. Maimonides explained that the back, Ahor, here, refers to the divine activity by which his presence is made manifest. That's very interesting. So God does some things. Now, some things you don't see some things you don't see the presence of God. So, for example, I see the presence of God in everything around me. I mean, it's magnificent, and I see the interconnectivity and the harmony in all of the various creations. But perhaps one might argue, well, is that the presence of God? Let me think. Divine, yes, I would call this a divine activity by which his presence is made manifest. I actually think you have to be of a very low intellect not to see the presence of God in the creations of God. Right? I was just looking at a hawk, and you see the hawk gliding beautifully over the mountain tops and through the trees and effortlessly. Now, where did this hawk come from? It's a well-designed machine. It's actually an incredible, well-designed machine. And yet people say, oh, it's just evolution. What does that even mean? So step by step. So how do you have the hawk with the imperfect wings flying? Well, it doesn't fly, so it's not a hawk, right? Meaning, in order for a hawk to fly, it has to have a certain type of lungs. It has to have a certain type of navigation system. It has to have a certain type of wings. It has to have certain types of bones, which are light and enable to glide, right? So when you see all these things coming together in a hawk, and there are no imperfect hawks in the geological record, like, when there was a hawk that had the right bones but didn't have the right wings. There was a hawk that somehow had a magnetic system of navigation, but didn't have the correct eyesight, and so on and so on and so on. It doesn't exist, right? What you see is the hawk, right? You don't see anything in the fossil record suggesting that somehow the hawk came about gradually. I mean, not for real, right? You have this you have these pretend charts of semi creatures, but those semi creatures are perfect in and onto themselves. But put that on the side. So you see the divine presence in all of the creations. Everything works perfectly. The atmosphere works perfectly with the trees, works perfectly with the sunlight, works perfectly with the birds and the various insects that pollinate the trees, and the vegetation works perfectly with the cows. Today we have the insane, loony, left-wing. Really, I would say they're not just loonies anymore. They're evil people. They want to get rid of cow farts because they've decided that that's bad for the environment. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the lunacy when you don't believe in God and you don't see the divine presence. They want to basically, do shahita on all the cows, and we'll all eat grub instead. So, but anyway, getting back now, leaving politics, I'm sorry for the digression, and getting back to the real world where the divine presence is there. So that's called the Ahor. So you can see the divine presence and extrapolate it from everything around and somehow see God in that. That's V'la'ita Tahorai, but Moshe Rabbeinu sees that, which we don't see that. So it means that he almost can extract the presence of God from all of the creations which point to the presence of God. That's the Aspeklaria Me'ira. He can see God's presence independently of, as a derivative of, but independently of the creations. That's the Ahor. Unlike Western thought, in which face is associated with exteriority and is therefore... Okay, let's stop here.